Welcome, 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 my lovely brothers and sisters. I forgot to unmute. Welcome today, this morning, which is a quite cold morning. I hear the noise of the wind. It's freezing cold, and let us start with a new life reading from the Orion Book, Volume 2, written by Wes Penre. Today I do two chapters, Chapter 18 and Chapter 19. Chapter 18 is titled The Secret Space Program, and Super Soldiers, and also the Chapter 19 is titled Sexuality and Procreation. When I end the first chapter, I will change the screen picture, and then we continue with chapter 19. So let us start. What is the Secret Space Program? And what has this to do with super soldiers? All right, the Secret Space Program. The Secret Space Program, the SSP, is a can of worms. It is a very complicated subject, and it probably deserves several standalone books if we want to dive into it in depth. There is a lot of information about this on the internet from whistleblowers who themselves were victims of this secret space program. And there are books written on it, such as Peter Moon's Montauk book series and many others. So I will only scratch the surface in this book, but I must do it because it seems to be tightly connected with the singularity. And now we get to the understanding why this Trump person is stating, oh yeah, you will hear quite often from the space program, which I will discuss in more detail in a later chapter. Everything leads toward the singularity, which of course is the biggest can of worms. Singularity is not what they proclaim to us that it is. It is in actuality a far more sinister and dark and evil thing than people are aware of and do want to see, let alone acknowledge that this whole singularity timeline is not the timeline that we should be in. And it's also not the timeline that we should build here on this earth. We are literally terraforming this earth, our planet, into a picture that some sick-minded, schizophrenic, sociopathic, psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic, cosmic being who claims itself to be God the Father of this third construct known as Matrix, wants us to create and terraform this earth into. So this singularity, which of course is the biggest can of worms, I have covered it in many of my writings, but there is always more to say. So, super soldiers. To get to the other planets in the solar system, humans must also pass the physical dome. This is something we must discuss because these super soldiers within the secret space program claim they have been to Mars, but even to other planets in the solar system and beyond. How is that possible when we are locked inside a dome and a grid? I have a lot more to learn about the secret space program, but I have read case studies and testimonies of first-hand participants. From what I understand, their experiences boil down to the following. One, one, it is a known fact that the super soldiers are taken without their consent, and the ones I have listened to claim they are also MK Ultra victims. This means they are compartmentalized with different alters who usually do not know about each other until these soldiers start their healing process afterwards. In MK Ultra, mind control, the handler or handlers program their victims with false memories after they have completed a mission. 2. Some super soldiers claim they have been outside Earth in physical bodies, some of them being space pilots, others being stationed on Mars for perhaps 25 years. Then they are put back into their original bodies where they were hijacked, and maybe 50 minutes have passed on Earth, while 25 years passed on Mars. For example, obviously they did not go to Mars in their original sapiens bodies if their souls were put back into their original bodies after the mission. Some soldiers, however, claim their soul was transferred into what looked like a perfect clone of themselves, which, if this is true, would be the body they used on the mission. This could either be a resilient body. I have discussed in different writings a body that can better function in the harsh conditions in space. The question is this a cloned body, a false memory, and the body they were actually transferred to was that of a gray? Or was it a false memory and the person was hijacked in soul, mind, spirit, only no body involved? Or was something else happening to the person that is completely hidden behind the false memories? It is hard to say. Point 3. Some say they were transported in spirit only, and they were metaphysically hijacked by military and transferred to Mars or elsewhere. 4. This is interesting. Some talk about being at a computer on another planet. This makes me think that sometimes they are not on another planet, but inside a prototype to metaverse, thinking they are off planet. To contra that, it is of course also possible they were off planet but still on a computer, because the overlords have technology that they can mirror things. So it also could be that they mirror a prototype version metaverse, and then these people think that they are outside Earth. What these people have in common is that they are severely traumatized to such a degree that it is emotionally difficult to listen to their testimonies. There's no doubt in my mind that these people have experienced something, and what they are telling us is the truth as far as they remember it. However, they are also often open to the fact that what they recall can be false memories and something happened, which is deeply buried beneath these false memories. But fact remains that these memories are extremely real to these people and they are embedded in severe trauma. So then we go to the following. Can humans enter the solar system? Yes, They apparently can. What I learned during the Wes Penre paper years is that humans can leave the Earth, but only if they have permission from the overlords themselves. But how is it then done? There are a few ways to do it. The person is taken and separated from their body, which is left in the bedroom, let's say. So they travel in their astral body, which is a blueprint of their sapiens body. And at the same time, it is the matrix avatar. So the astral body is our avatar, and it's about the astral body that the overlords have their eye on, to use that as an avatar to ride um, into Orion universe. So they want to abuse our astral body again, which is a copy of the Homo sapiens body. Because the person is not dead, the silver cord is intact between the sapiens body and the astral body, comma, the false soul. Therefore, one option is to let the hijacked person go through a hole in the grid and then to Mars. Another option would be to let the astral body travel through the fake moon, which is, from what I can tell, just a portal used in the afterlife to get to the recycling center on Mars, where the between lives area is located. Interestingly, many super soldiers seem to have been on Mars. I would say it is more likely they transport souls through the moon portal rather than through the grid. Either way, they can bypass the dome because they are not in physical bodies and they go through portals. I would also suggest that the so-called Apollo missions and other space missions were perhaps on the moon, but not in the sense we think of it. This is just a hypothesis, but couldn't these so-called, between quotation marks, astronauts, also being super soldiers, have gone through the moon portal and further to Mars? Perhaps their mission was not to go to the moon in the first place, but to Mars. I remember the Pleiadians saying that the moon is artificial, and the Pleiadians, in this case, were the Pleiadians contactee through Barbara Marciniak. So the Pleiadians saying that the moon is artificial and was put there sometime in the past. So let me guess. When Enki created the between lives area, this tunnel of false light, the portal, now we have a plausible explanation of how super soldiers are transferred to Mars without their physical bodies. If that is what happens, it is very possible to do it either of these two ways as I see it. When it comes to transferring humans in physical bodies, it is my understanding this cannot be done. We as Homo sapiens are made to be stationary on planet and not go out in space. If we want to go out in space in a physical sense, our consciousness must be transferred into a more resilient body, such as that of a gray or a reptilian, which are both cyborg bodies to use off planet. So, how to transfer then objects to Mars? If it is true that there is full military and Syrian activity on Mars, how do they get equipment from Earth to there? I would suggest not all equipment and objects are from Earth, but I would assume some of them are. Some equipment could be built on Mars from scratch. It is not that space rockets are fake. They probably have their valuable function. I would say they transfer equipment in the same manner the overlords travel the cosmic water in hollowed out asteroids, which they use as portals. Another interesting thing is about telescopes. Until recently, the telescopes scientists had access to were placed within the atmosphere, and the result was blurry and very limited. This was because they must watch the heavens through the dome, which works as a lens. Then they managed to, or were allowed to, transfer telescopes outside Earth, and suddenly we had much clearer pictures. We have seen many of these pictures, but what we have not seen is what else they might have discovered. Perhaps these telescopes are also capable of discovering at least some of the dark matter, in addition to the 4% we are used to seeing. In juxtaposition, the pictures from the latest telescopes could be fake. So, what is then the purpose of super soldiers? I believe super soldiers are guinea pigs and beta testers of the final metaverse. Not the version that is released by Facebook, that is just a toy version, so far to get people used to the idea. Perhaps the super soldiers are testing a much more advanced system that is now almost fully developed. These human beings, or these humans, are being abducted and are needed to fine-tune the advanced computer system, which could very well be run from Mars, where the recycling center is also. As discussed earlier, it is difficult to say how much of what these soldiers recall are implanted memories and how much is true. But I am quite alarmed by the computer system a super soldier named Penny Bradley talked about in an interview on YouTube. I have this eerie feeling that these super soldiers, who probably go back all the way to Nazi Germany, are prototypes for how the metaverse avatars are going to operate. We now know for a fact that these super soldiers are compartmentalized, and each altar confirms to its task. Additionally, each person has many altars, accomplishing many things. We also know that the overlords want us to conform when we have accessed metaverse and the cloud, and we need to be like the overlords. So that is why we see this rise of narcissism and sociopathy and psychopathy, because that is what these overlords are. Um, So the overlords want us to conform when we have accessed metaverse and the cloud, so we can all be on the same page, which is the same page as the overlords are. If they can coordinate all humans in the cloud to become completely and fully obedient, Through their avatars, the overlords only need to attach to these avatars and ride us into Orion. How would they do this? Technically speaking, it is very simple. Now that they have studied the human psyche for so many um, millennia, I would say, not decades, but millennia, by abducting some of us and made us into super soldiers. The invaders have figured out exactly how to create the avatars in metaverse. They, too, will be compartmentalized in the same fashion as the super soldiers, the beta testers. Thus, they do not need to mind control all of us. They just program the avatars in the same way they have already done successfully with the super soldiers. Then, when humans attach to these metaverse avatars, they also become compartmentalized and will conform completely to the bidding of the overlords. So keep this in mind. You then have no free will any longer. Your entire free will is in the metaverse completely gone. And you will only respond as a robot to programs that are programmed in you. And you become completely obedient to the bidding of the overlords. So keep this in mind. You now still have free will. But as we can see, this free will is rapidly being taken away from us. And this is dangerous. So then when humans attach to these metaverse avatars, they also become compartmentalized and will conform to the bidding of the overlords. All humans will be programmed in the same way. So then you get this creation of a hive mind. In the beginning, metaverse will be so-called wonderful. And when set up correctly, people will probably love it. Well, what I think is that they will insert an illusion in the metaverse to make sure that people start to love it, to make sure that they like it to be there. And as soon as much people are in this program, yeah, and have fallen for this bait, then they take this illusion away, and then the majority's already so accustomed to be in the metaverse that they hardly have any notion that this this illusion of wonderfulness has been taken away slowly, and eventually everybody accepts the metaverse. That's how they will do it. They will make sure that they will project something into the metaverse so that people start to like it to be there. And again, as soon as the majority likes it, then slowly they take that illusion away, and no one knows it, that it was an illusion. So, and when set up correctly, people will probably love it. But then the programming starts and alters will become active in each avatar. I do not know if this is exactly what they are planning, but if we put ourselves in the overlord's so-called shoes, wouldn't this be a quick way of doing it once the ultimate metaverse is in place? Well, uh, why should you, as overlords, make the things far more complicated than they have to be? So I think that what Mr. Penre is describing here and writing about is indeed what shall happen. All right, I go to the next chapter, and for this chapter, I will change the pictures. The next chapter is all about procreation and sexuality. And is this something that is completely the same in the entire universe? So let us find this out. I will take this one out, delete. Yeah, then let us do this. All right, that goes smooth. Okay. Yeah, at a stage. All right. So let us go to chapter 19, which is all about sexuality and procreation. Is this done in the entire universe in the same way as we do this here on Earth? So let us find out. Sexuality and procreation. How common is sexual procreation in the universe? Not that we are the only species in the universe that procreates through sex, but we and other life forms on Earth may be the only species who do it as we do it. This is not how it is commonly done. How a star race will procreate is up to the creator of that star race, or known as GODs. But I love the terminology creator, who created a certain star race in the developing worlds. They are the ones who decide what their experiment should be all about. It seems like the Syrians also procreate similarly to us, but we are both exceptions from the rule. Most star races procreate through cloning or genetic engineering. So this is how old cloning is. Yes, star races who are still developing in the material worlds can die, but there is no amnesia between lives. Unless the Khan Kings hijacked a star race and duplicated what they have done to us. They have given us deliberate amnesia. This is the reason why we as humans constantly fall into the same uh, traps. And this is why so many people are complaining. Why is it that we humans do not learn from our mistakes? Well, this is the main reason, because we are our memory when we die will be wiped clean, and then when we shoot back, are shooting back in a meat body, then they give us deliberate amnesia, so we do not remember anything at all, and we need to start all over again. So again, this explains why we are still falling in the same traps, why we do over and over the same mistakes, and why it is that we do not learn from our mistakes. But we can end this whole evilness by waking up to the reality that we are in, and by acknowledging that this is happening to us. As we, as soul group, start to say no and stand up and take our sovereignty back and start to push back the overlords and the things that they do by educating and informing ourselves about the things that are truly going on, and start seeing also things for what and how they truly are. Then we as a soul group then can stand and call out to Orion. And then Orion can help us. But they cannot do this on individual basis. They need to have us as soul group crying out to them for help. So this is not again done on individual basis, but as a group. We need to be awakened to the fact that we operate as a group, and we need to operate again as a group, not as standalone individuals anymore, but as a group. So instead, the discarnate two unit composites gets a new body between lives provided to them by the creator, uh, creator, or the overseers of the star system. The way I picture it is like when an avatar dies in a computer game, we take a new avatar and continue. So we lose some of what we have gained in previous life. But by and large, we can just continue playing. Important to understand is that amnesia between lives exists only on Earth and on Khan occupied world, where the same or similar amnesia system is usually put in place. All right, star beings and matrix sex. There are many channeled entities, including the Pleiadians and, in addition, the Orion source, who tell us that there are many star beings who have left their home worlds but have yet to gain spiritual creativity, hovering around Earth, wanting to get in here. They want to take a body here and have sex. Marduk, whose job is to guard the grid, does his best not to let all these star beings in, but it is a monumental task sometimes. So when some star beings get in, he traps them in the reincarnation loop. So the obvious reason these star races want to experience sex is because they have heard of the pleasure it brings. But there is another more subtle reason too. Human women, through their orgasms, can, with the right training, connect with the upper regions of the Ka, better known as the spiritual universe, and just like the overlords want to ride our avatars into Orion, so do these star beings. What is different is these curious star beings do not want to conquer the spiritual universe, or known as the Ka, and create a cosmic war. They want access to the Ka and think they can find a shortcut into these dimensions by taking advantage of the human females. When they take a body here, it needs to be a male body. They are spiritless, so they cannot take a female body and experience the Ka, because they can only have access to it through and already incarnated three-unit composite woman. There are men around the planet who take advantage of women for this purpose, and they are not human. This is where much of the sexual abuse comes from. And they soon notice that the younger the girl, the purer the energy. When a child has an orgasm, its pure energy, undistorted, can be more easily directed. Thus, pedophilia. I am not trying to say that all pedophilia is because of star beings coming here to reach the Ka, but it apparently happens more often than we might want to admit. The elite use children for the same purpose, but they also use their blood and energy to rejuvenate themselves, keeping themselves young and strong. Drinking blood from a terrified child slows down the adult's aging process. These intruding star beings do not go via the between life area, and they do not have an astral body. Therefore, it is easier for them to remember who they are, although they too lose their memories to some extent, but they remember their so-called mission for the most part. None of them will succeed because if they are not ready for the upper regions of the Ka, they cannot take advantage of their benefits, e.g., to be spirited. Instead, when these intruders die, they will recycled with full memory loss, like all the rest of us. Females in ecstasy and with their mind can achieve extraordinary things, reaching the Ka. Therefore, the old shamans were women, reaching for the Ka or spiritual universe for answers. Likewise, the prophets of old were also female, and the Ark of the Covenant was based on Mother Goddess rituals dash electric energy from the ether. Man can also reach the Ka through orgasms, but it is far more difficult unless the male houses an equilibrium of masculine and feminine energies, which we all should strive for. Because this equilibrium, this balance, is what makes us androgynous. Another way for a man to reach there is through the woman during the sex act. In a sex act, a man and woman who want to go to the Ka together agree to this before they have sex, and then they can start practicing. As an interesting side note, here is something very few people know. This is information that was given to me by Orion. The Nazis used female mediums with long hair. Think the thrill ladies, such as Maria Orsic. This was the key to Nazis' success in World War II. They followed the ways of the Mother Goddess, but of course, not positively. As usual, they took advantage of something sacred and twisted it to accommodate their own purposes. What the world saw were Nazi men running Nazi Germany, but in fact, it was women who ran the show and still probably are. The Nazi elite had done their research and was very intelligent. So the long epochs of sexuality soon over. And this is already a process that started directly after the Second World War. And the poisoning of our air, soil, food, and water, and the Planned Parenthood are part of this making humans for definite sterile. So the long epochs of sexuality soon over. Now it is time for the overlords to stop us from procreating. So this is a next human thing that they wanna rob humans from. Yeah? And even from having sex. Because metaverse and the singularity will eventually lead us into the nanoverse, comma, sex and procreation will become something of the past. So listen carefully what is being handed over as information to you. This means that the metaverse is completely machine kingdom. Yeah? And so every form of humanness is completely gone. And this is why that the overlords are working overtime for millennia to have this dehumanization plan proceeded and eventually finished, completed. We already know that more and more people are becoming infertile because there is an increase of fertility clinics all over the world. And young men's testosterone is at an all-time low. Women are losing their sex drive too. In addition, all these mud throwing debates between men and women and transgenderism online, when taking it out of proportions, also contributes to more diversion between sexes, and people give up. So know that the overlords are instigating um, event after event after event to make it happen that we eventually lose interest in one another. This is on purpose done. Know this. Every single thing that we see happening in this so-called world is deliberately created and instigated and programmed into this matrix. Yeah? Nothing happens at random. Nothing happens coincidentally. Nothing. Every single agenda is purposefully created. So also the agendas of um, losing sex, yeah, and losing interest in a man or a woman. So they are doing everything to make sure that women hate men and men hate women. Yeah, this is what narcissism is, because full-blown narcissists, they don't like women, they don't like relationships, they don't like sexuality. They only use it so they can live as supply. Um, Both men and women who both feel humiliated and intimidated. Sorry, my cats were a little bit fighting. Um, so when there is, wait a minute. In addition, all these mud-throwing debates between men and women and transgenderism online, when taking it out of proportions, also contributes to more diversion between the sexes, and people will give up eventually. Both men and women who both feel humiliated and intimidated. There is and has been for a long time a chasm between men and women. But to take that debate to TikTok or elsewhere online, letting it get out of hand and with media encouraging it, is a sure way to drop the testosterone and estrogen levels in humans and instead create a hate relationship and an increased alienation between the sexes. And as a third party, there is this awful woke culture, steering things up to the 10th degree. Clever done, Enki. Clever done, Marduk. So that is why we need to see that everything is done on purpose. They want to dehumanize us. They want to rob us from our human aspects, such as sexuality, creativity, which is also sexuality, and everything that makes us human. They want to take that away from us. And this is something so many people do not want to see nor acknowledge, that this is going on, and that this is the main reason why we see so many mayhem and havoc in this world, deliberately created. All these psychological operations serve a purpose in this dehumanization plan. None of this is a coincidence. The authorities try to tell us the drop in libido in people has mostly environmental causes, and in a way that is true. They just forget deliberately to tell us that they themselves are the ones who are creating the environment that makes humans lose their sex drive. For example, through all the toxic food, through all the hybridized food, through the toxic environment, all and also through all the nanobots that are being sprayed in the air and landing on the soil when it rains and snows, as well as all the nanobots in the food, all in the medicine and in the jabs, as well as the poisoning of the tap water that we are drinking and water in general, because that is also highly contaminated. All these things and far more contribute to the decline. Moreover, young people do not want to have children anymore because the gender nonsense has become too toxic. In a sense, it seems like a good thing not to bring children into this world. Why support an oppressive system? Why should you bring your children into a system of complete oppression, and where they are being treated as slaves and cannon fodder? Unfortunately, it is not because of that the overlords do not want more children. It is because of the singularity. So now you get to understand that everything that is being done, all these agendas, this World Economic Forum and their agendas, the agendas of the United Nations, and all these so-called green agendas, all play into this singularity. All these agendas are created to move us humans, better said, to enforce us humans into this singularity timeline. Why? For a stupid cosmic galactic war that these two, Enki and Marduk, have in mind to do against Orion, and they are using us for this. So wake up. They want Homo sapiens sapiens to die out and become fully extinct to make room for the new human 4.0, where human 1.0 were the Namluus, the human 2.0 were the Atlanteans, and we are the human 3.0, the Homo sapiens sapiens. And now they want to create a human 4.0, which is the cyborg human who ate from the false tree of life, being kept alive between quotation marks forever with technology. And it's not really forever, because eventually technology will reach its ceiling. Technology cannot go on forever. As mentioned before, babies will grow up in laboratories by the state. There will be no family units anymore. That being the agenda, the overlords obviously do not want us to have a sex drive. It would defeat their purpose. This was all being prepared in the 1970s when the Rockefeller family, led by David Rockefeller, started splitting the family unit by funding feminism. Well, feminism in actuality is something that was also coming from the um, Marxist manifesto. Karl Marx had this written down in his manifesto. Then the Fabian Society went along with this manifesto from Karl Marx. And then the Rockefeller family also did their part in the whole feministic movement. And from what I came to understand, the core of the feministic movement was in actuality set up by the Fabian Society. So, and the Rockefeller family is in actuality part of all these so-called societies. Yeah, so they are in actuality the financial financiers. So feminism can be a good and just thing when not taken out of proportions. But as usual, there was an occult purpose with the entire movement. The new babies raised by the state will be the first generation of complete cyborgs. Human 4.0 children. When they grow up, they will use their cosmic energy through the attached 3-unit composites to power up Metaverse and to keep it running. So, what is happening? These human 4.0 children will misuse and abuse the cosmic energy to keep this metaverse prison system alive. So now we get to the bigger picture behind every single thing that is being rolled out. And now you also get the understanding why they are in such a hurry with everything. So we need to hurry also in waking up and having ourselves informed and educated about all these agendas and the real deal sinister meaning behind them. Okay, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Spirit is leading me to the chapters that I need to read so that I can pass on this information unto you. We need to help each other, and for as long as this is possible through the internet, then the internet is the most magnificent platform to do this, because you can reach a lot of people at once than going from door to door. So please like this video in the sense that share it with as many as possible fellow brothers, sisters. Do this with all the videos that I have made so far. Also about the cosmic narcissist videos. Please share them, because people need to know more about Enki and about Marduk, whom are in actuality the two beings that are pulling the strings in this world and are pulling our strings of our life too, and are too much involved in our personal lives too. Please share this and like this video. And thank you so much for tuning in through Facebook or through the YouTube channel or through the Rumble channel. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making time to listen to this information. Again, it is not about me. It is about the information that I am allowed to pass on to you so that you get better informed. And I also want to advise you to buy the Orion book, volume 1 and 2, yourselves, and start reading this yourselves too, because there's a difference between listening and reading the same information yourselves. And visit all the links that are mentioned in the text box. And as last, I want to say again, thank you so much. I wish you all a beautiful, joyful day filled with a lot of knowledge, wisdom, revelation, and also a greater waking up in seeing the dots and connections around you. Um, and seeing for what the things really are. All right, and as last, I am going to end with a nice piece of music, which is titled Unbreakable and is composed by Band Sound. Thank you so much and see you the next time. Have a wonderful day.